So you kind of touched on this a little bit on the surface, but what is it that for the people who aren't familiar with like the small town, right? Um, what is it that you want people to know about being a pastor in the rural context?
First thing is that everything takes time.
Yeah.
At least in Comanche, it does. Everything we've done has been a slow burn. Um, that single mothers class that I talked about,
Hmm.
first time we did it, we had one girl come and she didn't want to be there. She had to. She was at the maternity home and they made that a required course for anyone coming. Um, and so she had to come and she didn't like it. She didn't want to be there. And that's what I call a slow burn. You got one person, but she's forced to come. um, the ladies recovery group started, they hit the ground running to some degree, but that's because it's being facilitated by a lady who was part of the drug community and has been that lady I mentioned earlier who's been clean and sober for a couple of years now. Man, actually, it's been a little bit longer than that. But anyway, she had connections into the drug and the alcohol community. She'd grown up in this town. A lot of people knew her addictive past, knew how she changed. And so, bam, they came and they hit the ground running, relatively speaking. But we're talking about, like six people. And, they good meeting, they might have, maybe 15. Um, and the men's has been a lot slower. I spent most of that first year with one other guy coming, and he was coming to help. He wasn't part of the addict community. He was wanting to pour into people and disciple people and make sure that, that people were hearing about Jesus. He was coming to give, not so much to receive. And then, there's probably about like a 3-month period where literally it was just me. Nobody came. And even now, a good meeting is like 8 guys. That's probably about as good as it's ever been. Usually it's 4 of us. We've also tried to get I guess I hate calling it a support group just because that sounds unmasculine, but basically it's a support group for single dads trying to get, the other half of that family. There's single dads out there. And we've tried to get that class going 3 times. First time I tried to get it going, nobody was interested. Second time I tried to get it going, I had a couple guys express interest in coming, but in the end, when things started up, they didn't come. And they started ghosting me.
Mm.
This time when we started it up, same story. I had a couple guys interested, a couple different guys, and nothing again. But I'm going to try again. I'm going to keep trying until we can get this thing going because everything around Comanche is a slow burn.
Yeah.
It takes time to build that credibility. Addicts typically don't want to recover until they hit that rock bottom. And then they're going to look around and they're going to say, okay, who do I see who's further down this road? Or who do I see who I actually believe cares about me in my situation, wants to help me out? And, typically there's going to be some family in that process. Not always. Sometimes they burnt their bridges with family. But, if you've been there for 2 weeks or 2 months, people don't know that you care.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's at least 2 years before people start to think maybe he's not going to be moving out. Maybe he's actually going to stick around. Matter of fact, I can remember at that church planting conference that we went to, Nick Burleson, who church planted in Stephenville, he started up Timber Ridge Church. And I remember him talking about a shirt that he had custom made. And let's see if I can remember exactly what it was. It's like Stephenville born, Stephenville bred, And when I die, I'm Stephenville dead. And it was just, and he wore that shirt out because he wanted people to know he was in the community and he was staying there, and he wasn't going to be moving out in 2 years after things got going onto another opportunity. And he's still there. He's still pouring into the community, and he's got that rapport with people. People know who he is at this point. And I'm just starting to reach that point in Comanche where people know who I am and they see that I actually care about the community. There's things that we do, like we do at the start of summer vacation, we do this little fun day for kids. And we've done that for years. We haven't had anyone come visit the church for that because we'd held that. Not one person has ever said, hey, this was a great Saturday. You guys do church Sunday. Where is it? Can I come? Not once. And I just recognize that part of it's, we keep doing this, people are going to slowly start to realize, hey, they're sticking around. They're a permanent fixture in the town. One ministry idea I had early on was maybe we, like during Christmas time, we could offer to do like a Saturday babysitting so that people could go out and do their Christmas shopping, not have to worry about their kids being there while they're buying the Christmas presents for kids, and just make it an easier experience regardless of spoiling Christmas presents for the kids. And I like that idea, but like I said, especially at the beginning, I was like, people don't know who the heck we are. Why on earth would they trust us with their kids? Just because we got the name church behind us? No, that doesn't mean a whole lot, especially these days. Not with all the church scandals that go around with child abuse.
So like so basically you like, it takes a long time to become part of the community, right?
It does. It takes
a long time to be a
years.
part of the community, and things move like just really, really slow.
It does.
Which is interesting because like I'm living in a major city, San Antonio, for about a year now, and the way people think about being a part of the community or being a resident is just drastically different, man. It's just drastically different. It takes, because I lived in Dallas for a little bit also, and it's just the way you get plugged in and gets integrated to the community, it's just drastically different, man. Because like they say it generally takes, kind of like what you're saying, 6 to 7 years in a small town for people to start to basically trust you. And y'all are around that. Y'all are coming up on that market pretty soon. And that's the, I guess, the quote unquote average is around 6 to 7 years. And but it's interesting though, because you would think it'd be easier because there's not much going on. Like you'd think it'd be easier because you always see the same people at the grocery store, the one grocery store.
Right.
Everybody goes to the same banks, the same gas stations, the same one or two coffee shops. But I think y'all are just now getting a coffee shop, right?
Yep. Our very first coffee shop is being built.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like here I am in San Antonio, and it's like I've got 57 coffee shops within a 5-mile radius to me.
Wow.
And so like it's just bizarre. It's just different. So in addition to that, man, what is it a lot for me personally, and I know quite a few others, like when I was church planting in Alpine, it literally feels like you're on an island by yourself. Like, I mean, granted, it's not because I was the only church in Alpine. I wasn't the only pastor in Alpine. I went and had breakfast with a pastor once, and he trying to, like, when I first moved here, wanting to build and establish healthy relationships with everybody. And I was told, I don't know why you came here. I don't like what you're doing, and I wish you were in this town. It was a great conversation. It couldn't have gone any better.
Right.
People didn't like return my phone calls, emails, and so like I kind of follow the three strike rule. Um, I've done my part. I've made my effort. Um, and so there's this like loneliness being on a desert island kind of feel. Has that been similar to you, man? And like, is there anything that we can do to support rural pastors to make it not as to for that not to be a thing?
Um, I would say I've had a little different, definitely different experience than you.
Yeah.
Yep. Everything I'd ever heard on church planning podcasts or read in books and everything talk about how basically church planning pastor coming into a community is persona non grata. It just you're not welcomed. Yeah, I think Ed Stetzer, I've heard him say, I'll see if I can quote it properly. Um, Start a new church overseas and it's all for God's glory, but start another church in my backyard and that's another story. Uh, and so I was told coming out the gates, don't expect pastors to be friendly to you. Don't expect them to like you. Don't expect them to cooperate with you. You might run into one or two, but those are going to be the exceptions to the rule. Mostly it's going to be a negative experience, like what you experienced. People not returning your phone calls or people out and out telling you, I wish you weren't here. Um, on the other hand, I've not had that experience. The pastors in Comanche, I without knowing it, I stepped into something that God had been doing long before I ever arrived or even dreamt about church planning. There's a project that goes on every summer called Community Rehab. And it started out with First Baptist Church, but they quickly saw that the need was way bigger than what their church could do. So they started getting in other churches and getting them involved. And what it is that they come in, they evaluate different people's homes who are interested. You have to apply for it, but they evaluate your home and say, okay, you're asking for a new roof on your house. And yeah, your house needs a new roof. So yeah, we'll do that. Or, the siding on your house is trash. And so we need to come in and do that. And so they put together this list of homes that need to have some major things done with them. And all these churches come together and work together. And there's even churches from other communities. It's a mission project that they've had people from out of state coming to, even to come help with. And the high school opens up the gym, and all these youth groups and other mission groups will come and stay at the high school gymnasium and stay there overnight for this week-long project where they come in and they just work on homes. Well, I didn't know that existed. The churches here were used to working together. And so the first pastor I met was pastor of First Baptist Church. And I met him on Sunday morning, which blew my mind because that's why I was doing those surveys Sunday morning, is going door to door, knocking on doors saying, hey, what is it? We're starting a new church. What kind of music do you like to listen to? What are the problems with the community? What do you think a church can do to help? All that stuff. I was doing that Sunday mornings to avoid church people. The assumption being that church people would be at church. I know nobody's perfect attendance or anything, but for the most part, they're going to be gone. Well, I was going door to door, and literally as I'm finishing up at one house, this pickup pulls in and a man and his teenage son step out of the truck. And I was just going to their driveway. They were the next house, and I walk in and introduce myself and say, hey, I'm Ross. We're going to be starting up a new church here in town. And he's like, oh, really? Well, that's great. My name is, and he told me his name, and he's pastor of First Baptist Church. And that blew my mind because I didn't expect to meet the pastor of the church Sunday morning. Well, he needed to run home between Sunday school and church to grab something real quick. And God just arranged that. And so we set up a meeting, and I sat down and ate lunch with him and had a good time. And that man is pure gold. Um, he's been nothing but helpful, supportive. Anytime I've asked for his time, he's given it to me, and sometimes with like zero notice. And so, and that's, I haven't had a negative experience yet. I've had some pastors who you can tell they're just not really interested in building a relationship as an individual, much less between churches. But still, there's this community of churches that are used to working with each other, and it's just been, I got to step into that. It's nothing I did. I'm trying to help promote it now that I'm here, but I'm still the new guy on the block, and so I step in and just try to help out where I can. And, if somebody asks me to do something, I step in and I do it. And, like I said, I'm standing on the shoulders of what God's been doing through other men and women. And so that's been an awesome experience for me. But I also know that that's just absolutely strange experience that most people don't get that at all. They step into church plant in a community, and it's just the cold shoulder all over the place. And maybe you'll find somebody who will mentor you. And that's about the best you can hope for most of the time, even if it's just mentoring you in the sense of getting to know the community. It's, my advice is that recognize that my story's the unusual one in that sense, that most people starting up a church, and especially in a small town, people are very possessive of the small town pastors, because there's a limited number of people. I mean, you move to a city like San Antonio or Dallas or Phoenix or LA or New York or whatever, and it feels like there's practically unlimited supply of people. You can't reach everybody. You can't reach everybody within 1 square mile. That would be a massive church. And it just, you can't. And so you recognize that there's going to be new churches coming in, and that's just part of it. You may not like them. They may be closer than you want. They may be trying to reach the same neighborhood as you, and you may feel a little possessive in that way. But small towns, it's a different story. There's 5,000 people in Comanche, 15,000 in the whole county. And so one more church, suddenly it's like, no, these are my people. That would be the normal experience. And I've seen that, and I've heard that numerous sources. That's going to be a pretty normal experience. But man, I just want to encourage people to try and reach out and recognize that, again, it's a slow burn. This is going to be a slow building of trust and relationships. And it's probably going to take even longer than it will with the community. Because those pastors have probably been there for 10, 20, 40 years. And there is a possessiveness about that. You're going to have to come in and you're going to have to show that you love the community, and that you love not just your church, but you love God's church in the community, no matter where they're meeting at. And then as that trust is built up, that's when you're going to be able to start to form relationships.